Hey there, Heather, Heather, Jeff Cutter Diamond with a special video on today, Monday, August 12th, 2019. Now, I know non-sports fans will find out why is August 12th so significant. Well, I will tell you why August 12th is so significant. August 12th is significant because 25 years ago was one of the biggest sports strikes of all time. You can compare that, well, you could say, was that the first major sports strike to really ruin a season? In sports, the answer is no. The 82 NFL and 87 NFL strikes ruined the seasons. 82 NFL struck in the middle of the season. They only played 9 games, and they had 8 teams from each conference make the playoffs. And then you got yourself the 87 NFL strike when they went on strike, and then they decided to use replacement players. They did that for 3 weeks before the veterans caved and all that. So, yeah, basketball never had a major strike until 1999. They avoided a major strike in '94. And hockey, of course, didn't have, well, kind of had a major strike in '92 in April that almost ruined the Stanley Cup playoffs. But thankfully they got that fixed. So yeah, '94 was the year of labor strike because all 4 major sports had either a strike or were close to a strike. Baseball and hockey, had the strike. Basketball and football nearly had strikes. So thankfully that didn't hurt anything. By the way, the NFL, I believe, is the record. They haven't had a regular season game affected by strikes since 1987. And I say regular season games, preseason doesn't count. Baseball was 95. Basketball was 2012, I think. And hockey was 2013. But hockey's getting close to a strike, too. But anyway, so I'm just going to leak myself up because I want to keep shirt. If you can see it. I hope you can. Yeah, I know it's covered in dog fur. And it's a little worn out. We can blame the freaking washing machine for that. But anyway, yeah, it's significant. Right now, the Blue Jays are in rebuilding mode, which I hate. I hate a team rebuilding, but, they might be a threat next year. Who knows? So anyway, not talking about the Blue Jays, although they're indirectly related. Just a reminder, the next video you'll see is a video of me talking about the great what if moments. Like, I will be doing what ifs of teams and their best chance to have had a championship but fouled it up. So basically, I got a few that I easily can pick without having to go through my criteria. But anyway, just to remind you. So anyway, this video is about the '94 player strike in baseball and how it affected things. Now, 1994 was actually the 125th anniversary of baseball, of professional organized baseball, because 1869 was when they decided to do professional organized baseball, with the Cincinnati Red Stockings being the dominant team, winning, 130 straight games before they lost? But anyway, 1994 was your 125th anniversary. And basically, it was a time for change. In '93, you had 4 divisions with 28 teams in them. The AL East and West would carry 14 teams, 7 in each division, East and West, and the NL carried 12 teams. Why did I say 28? No, 14 teams too. Well, it was 14-12. The American League had 14, the NL had 12 until '93 when Colorado and Florida jumped in. And then made 14-14. But Bud Selig decided that, it was hard to make the playoffs. You only had a 1 in 7 chance to make the LCS, or 14%, if you will. So he decided, with everyone expanding, to have 6 divisions, 3 in each league, American League and National League, and then he decided to have a wild card, which means the best team to not win a division gets in. It was kind of set up. Now, there is a conspiracy theory that after the '93 NL West chase between the Braves and the Giants, that was implemented to help the Giants out. But unfortunately, that's false, because they had decided on the wild card early in '93 before the Braves-Giants great pennant chase. It was a fantastic chase, and the Giants won, 103 games, and they didn't even make the playoffs. That was a case for a wild card for all that. So baseball decided to realign things and put teams in 3 divisions. So the American League East carried Baltimore, Boston, Toronto, New York, and I believe Milwaukee was in the AL East at that time, if I remember correctly. The AL Central had Chicago, Cleveland, Detroit, Kansas City, and Minnesota. And then the AL West had the Angels, Oakland, Seattle, and Texas. Okay, I was right. As everyone should know, Milwaukee moved from the AL to the NL in 1998 when the expansion happened with Tampa and Arizona. Because they didn't want to have an interleague series every time, like twice a week. But that changed in 2013 when the Astros moved from NL to AL. So anyway, the NL East had Atlanta, Montreal, the Mets, Philly, and Florida. The Central was Cubs, Cincy, St. Louis, Houston, and Pittsburgh. And the NL West was LA, San Diego, San Francisco, and Colorado. So anyway, they did that. Without having to cheat and look on Wikipedia, I'm going to tell you about the divisions. The AL East was dominated by the New York Yankees. The Yankees were second place in the AL East by a few games. They lost to Toronto. It was close, though, but Toronto just basically almost end-to-end had the AL East title in their grasp. But, yeah, they looked good. The Blue Jays, unfortunately, as per 92, a lot of players left. 94 did bring us Carlos Delgado and Sean Green up for a little bit. But, you know, yeah, the Jays didn't do so well that year. The AL Central, White Sox and Cleveland were fighting tooth and nail for that division. The White Sox with their pitching, Cleveland with their hitting, and their new ballpark. Remember, Cleveland in 94 actually had a new ballpark, Jacobs Field, that took the place of the old rotting Cleveland Municipal Stadium, which ended up being Browns exclusive for only 2 years before the Browns moved to Baltimore. The AL West was interesting because there were like no clear-cut winner. Texas had the lead in the AL West, but the problem was Texas was 6 or 7 games below 500 or something like that. Oh, brother, I hate cheating. But I'm gonna have to cheat. Okay, so anyway, when I'm just talking about it, the 1994 in the NL East, everyone at Atlanta, after what they did in the West, would basically be the dominant team. So basically, they look good. But, unbeknownst to them, oh dear. Oh, here we go. Final division standings. Okay, here we go. Okay, I used Sharp Sports, and they said final MLB divisions. Yeah, Yankees were 70-43. That's a .619 winning percentage. They beat Baltimore by 6.5. Toronto actually didn't do that half bad. They were 55-60. They only were 5 games below 500, and yet they took third in the division ahead of Boston, wow, and Detroit. The Central, the White Sox, and Cleveland, they were actually tooth and nail. White Sox actually won by a game. Kansas City was only 4 back. That's amazing. Oh, no, I screwed up. Detroit was in the East, not Milwaukee. The AL Central had Milwaukee instead of the East. And Texas was 52-62. They were only 1 game ahead of Oakland, who were 51-63. Seattle came third, 49-63, but they had 2 games in hand on Oakland. They could have tied them. And yeah, Texas 10 games below 500, and they still would have won the division. Amazing. Of course, Atlanta and all that. 68-46. That's a pretty good score, like a .596 win percentage, but that didn't win the division. And that would be Montreal, 74-40, .649 winning percentage. Yeah, I'll spill the beans that the Montreal Expos in 94 will be part of the first video of the What If series. And all that. I'll get more into details about the Expos when I do that video. The Central, Cincy. I actually thought it was Cincy who won the NL Central. I was right. But Houston was only half game out. The only problem was Cincy had a game in hand on Houston. So yeah, it was basically Cincy and Houston fighting in the Central. Houston would not have gone on to the playoff. Be the wild card team. That would be in Atlanta with a better winning record. And also the Dodgers, despite them only being 2 games above 500, were the only team above 500 in the NL West, as the Giants, who were second, were 5 games below 500. But 94 was also known for the individual efforts. Frank Thomas getting his second straight AL MVP thing, the big hurt and all that. Albert Bell chewing it up in Cleveland. I don't think there were a lot. Ken Griffey Jr. trying to reach 60-plus home runs. That was interesting. But the NL was where things were huge. Tony Gwynn, Mr. Padre, was aiming to be the first batter to hit 400 since Ted Williams back in 1941. Matt Williams and Jeff Bagwell were fighting tooth and nail for the home run title and to try to get to Maris's 61. So, yeah, it was interesting. August 12th was a black day for baseball because that's when the players went on strike. Basically, I think it was because the owners were withholding salary information from them or something like that. How could you be losing money and all that? If you remember, Very Real Children actually parodied this, basically by having Al and his buddies do like a beer league thing that actually took America by storm after the baseball strike. And they had Frank Thomas, Bert Saberhagen, and who else? There were other baseball players who were involved in that thing. But anyway, yeah, that episode. And then, of course, you know, Al and the owners were at war and all that. And basically, they struck. Yeah. So baseball went on strike August 12th. And there were a lot of problems and all that. And then a month later, Bud Selig announced that the season was gonzo. No way. Are we doing a season? So Bud Selig put the death knell in this with Donald Buer. So anyway, baseball went on strike. No World Series, no playoffs for that matter. So it robbed the Yankees because Don Mattingly was getting close to the end of his career and all that. And despite what you think, Derek Jeter was not a part of that 94 team. 95 he was. He came on late. Gone was also the fact that the White Sox and Indians would have both made the playoffs. White Sox trying to prove that their ALCS loss in 93 was not going to be the same way in the 94 playoffs. And Texas. Texas. Well, if we went with the 1-4-2-3 formula, the Yankees would have played Texas. But the rules for years was that no two teams, if the wild card came from the same division as the number one team, then, I think they did by record. I think the wild card, if that team was the same as the division, the winner in their division, then they would have had to face the second best team. So, yeah, the wild card would have been Cleveland, and it would have been Yankees Cleveland and Chicago, Texas. Who knows? Maybe Texas might have pulled a miracle. But anyway, Yankees Cleveland, that would have been interesting to see in 94. And then, of course, the NL would have been Montreal, Atlanta, if Atlanta was a wild card, but obviously that couldn't happen. So it would have been Montreal, Cincy, and then Atlanta taking on Los Angeles. And it would have been a classic Montreal-Atlanta NLCS. Montreal probably would have won it closely, and then Montreal could have won the 1994 World Series. Anyway, the baseball strike happened. The worst part of it is it wasn't over completely. It even pushed to the next season. There was still some labor strife. They couldn't get it done over the winter, and spring training was coming around. And then they came up with the bright idea to use replacement players in case the season couldn't be saved. So basically, they went with replacement players. I believe that Toronto had issues because there was an Ontario loss about scrubs and all that. If memory serves me correctly. But anyway, yeah, the replacement players thing was shut down because they finally became peaceful in March of 95. It's interesting, too. Remember, Michael Jordan left the Bulls in 93 and decided to play baseball in 94. He did okay, but he wasn't that great. He actually did much better in the Arizona Fall League and was going to be in Chicago with the White Sox's training camp in 95, as he did in 94. But he decided that, he was loyal to the game of baseball and he didn't want replacement players. Even though he could have been a replacement player, he didn't feel that well. And then he decided to go back to basketball. Now, of course, conspiracy theories is like, why did MJ retire in 93? A lot of people said it was about his gambling. But truth be told, it was because of his father. I mean, he lost his father 2 months after the Bulls won their third title in a row in 93. I mean, it was a stupid crime and a heinous crime for those two men to shoot and kill James Jordan on the side of the highway in North Carolina. And MJ just lost that spark. He owed it to his father to at least try baseball because, Michael Jordan would have been a good baseball player. And his dad wanted him to be a baseball player. And MJ actually tried to make an effort to be, kind of the baseball playoffs. But, of course, he came back to the NBA in 95. Yeah, so the major Supreme Court justice that Barack Obama appointed, Sonia Sotomayor, was actually the judge who got baseball to get back together and have peace and all that. I know, what was it, April 20th, 1995 or something like that? I don't remember if the first day of the baseball regular season actually, unfortunately, coincided with a bombing in Oklahoma City. But, yeah, I remember that. And then the Blue Jays actually used 11 runs in the second inning to beat the Oakland A's. But that's just biased by me. But lots of teams recovered from the 94 strike. Some didn't. I mean, Montreal, of course, was the biggest victim of the 94 strike because, they had to cut salaries. They had to jettison 4 key players. John Wetland, Ken Hill, Larry Walker, and Marcus Grissom all went away. Dennis Martinez also went away too, but I think he was on the end of his contract, so he could go anywhere he wanted. So yeah, the Expos just fell flat, and they didn't make a major chase for the playoffs till 2003 when they were in the wild card hunt. And of course, Montreal 2 years later went to Washington, and yeah, things have just been terrible in Canada. Only one team, that'd be the Blue Jays. Blue Jays would not really recover as much. I know they went in 95 as the defending World Series champions, in quotations, but the Jays never recovered, and especially being in the division with the Yankees and Bull Sox, who were both really powerful. The Jays never had a chance to make the playoffs. 98, they actually won 88 games, but unfortunately the Yankees and Boston were just much better. And then you got yourself, Toronto, 2015, Toronto finally broke their postseason schneid and won the division. Yeah, so baseball just went flat. And a lot of people say that the strike of 94 was why there was more home runs and all that. Because in 95 and 96, there were a lot of people hitting 30, 40, 50 home runs and all that. And conspiracy theorists said that practically because baseball was losing attendance left, right, and center, that they decided to try to make it more offensive and get the fans back in the seats. That is kind of true. I do admit that. But the steroids era just ruined baseball as a whole. And I hope to God Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa never get into the Hall of Fame. They're fucking cheaters. And the home run record should go back to Roger Maris, because, Bonds, McGuire, and Sosa all cheated and all that. Maybe they're forgiving, but I'm not. So anyway, that's all I've got. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next video when I talk about the 94 Montreal Expos. Goodbye.